Good morning. I'm Jackie Toops, representing Veterans Rideshare, and today I have with us the president of Veterans Rideshare, Army veteran Chris Pozek. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
Hi, everybody.
So, Chris just brought me on the team. I'm very excited to be here as well. I'll tell you a little bit about myself quickly, but then we're really going to focus on Chris because he's the reason why we're here. And I'm very excited to tell you about his mission and where he's going with his organizations, plural. He has numerous entities. So I have been a military spouse for 7 years now. And Chris and I got connected through ArmyWife101.com, where I'm a lead writer. And Chris started just having all these incredible giveaways from Veterans Rideshare. He has shown military families who couldn't afford it a good Thanksgiving. He did a $500 Christmas giveaway through Veterans Rideshare. A family was flown home. They were dual military and they flew in from Alaska back to their home state so that grandparents can meet the baby. It's just been amazing. And I think what impressed me most about Veterans Rideshare is that they're actually doing something. They don't just say, we support veterans. They actually are doing it. They're supporting veterans. They're employing them. They're putting them to work. So when Chris invited me to come on board, I was more than happy. So thank you again. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited that you're my first interview.
Indeed, and we're so enamored to have you.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I want to tell everybody a little bit about you. So I'm going to read this so I have this correct, and then you can tell us in your own words. So Chris Pozek is an Army veteran and, as I said, the president of Veterans Rideshare. That's a transportation services company that he formed. It's based in California, and they provide everything from freight shipping to non-emergency medical transport and many things in between. Veterans Rideshare is fantastic because they are dedicated to giving back to service members. As I mentioned, they hire veterans, they're putting them back to work. They also provide special rates and fares for veteran organizations, and then they donate a portion of their profits to nonprofit organizations that are helping the veteran space. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing, Chris. And what I love about you is that you and Veterans Rideshare and all your other entities are making a difference, but you don't stop there. You continue. So let's talk a little bit about you, the man behind the magic.
Yeah. So, Army, I was one of those people that really enjoyed their time in the service. I thought it was awesome. And I was a combat medic, 91 Bravo. I'm aging myself there because that MOS is an old designation. But I really enjoyed it. I did everything that I could. I was on a short term. The reason I graduated high school early just to go in the Army.
Wow.
Yeah. So I graduated at 16.
Oh
Had
my
my parents sign, and I want to be Rambo. You know, everybody wants to be Rambo. So then I had a job my dad was a union electrician for 35 years. So I had a job as a apprentice electrician coming out of the Army. And so I decided not to renew because all I could be was an EMT when I got out. And at that time, this is aging myself yet once again, is 92. Pay was $7.75 an hour, if I remember correctly. And that's when HIV and AIDS and all that stuff was coming frontline center. So you're risking your life for $7.75, $8 an hour. And I think I was going to get another dollar or something to go hold a picket sign for the IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. So I'm like, well, let me get out of that. And so then I was going to go be an electrician, and I had a 3-month window that before the apprenticeship started. And so I had to do something. Well, I was a porter at a car dealership before I went in. So I went to go try and get my job back. That didn't work out. I ended up getting a job in sales for that 3 months, and I started making all kinds of money. So I was like, okay, so sales and marketing was kind of more or less my thing. And then I got in a transportation business. And in 2014, I started seeing Uber and Lyft coming frontline, and I thought transportation network companies, TNCs, were the wave of the future. So I started trying to figure out what to do in order to help veterans. Because when I was recruiting for different jobs, and I would get into situations where they would bring me into an at-risk housing complex, or job fairs, and just listen to what the brothers and sisters trials and tribulations they would go through in order to get a job and reintegrate. I didn't have that problem. I've never even been to the VA. I've never exercised any of my benefits. I've been very fortunate. But I realized at that point that not everybody was the same. So I was like, okay, well, what do we do here? So we came up with the idea of Veterans Rideshare, fueled by veterans, for veterans and their family members, in order to provide a high level of service. The reason that Uber and Lyft took those industries by such storm was because it was a bad industry. There was no integrity. There was no KPIs, key performance indicators on the level of service that people received. So I was like, well, let's give it a whirl. So we started off with an Escalade, a couple of 300s, and some economy cars to provide economy car transportation like UberX. Except this was you had to call in and actually book the ride. So, we had a great group of veterans at the beginning. They were our best salespeople. They would be like, call me, hey, Chris, I've got the Mr. CEO here in the car, taking him to the airport. He loves the mission. He loves what we do. He manufactures things and ships them throughout California. We got a box truck. Sure. Well, I didn't have box truck. I didn't even know how to spell box truck at the time, right? So we go get a box truck, and I've got a Marine driving around, and within 30, 45 days, it was at full capacity because of the mission. So then, a few weeks go by, and another driver calls me. He's like, hey, Chris, I've got so-and-so COO, and he manufactures things, ships them all over the country. We got those trucks and 53-foot dry van trailers. Sure. Didn't have a truck or trailer. Went out and bought one. So next thing you know, that thing's at full capacity. So, VRS Trucking was born at that point, right? So went from VRS to VRS Trucking. Then we looped up there's a non-emergency medical transportation, and California is a broker state, basically for dialysis and for medical treatments and wound care and all that kind of stuff. It's not an ambulance because ambulances are like $8 billion for a 3-mile journey, but you can actually transport them with special vehicles. Excuse me. So having a broker involved was a potential detriment to us because somebody else controlled the fate of the veterans. Yeah. So that was bad. So we ended up getting rolling up and partnering up with a gentleman named Scott West, who is my CEO now for all the companies. And then we owned the brokerage. So now we owned it. And so there was no threat of anybody messing with our ability to scale. Okay. So then as these trucks and trailers were sitting at our locations waiting to hire more veterans to put them on board and their family members, people would call and say, hey, do you lease those? Do you rent those? Absolutely. Then your leasing solution was born, right? So it's been and we've got so many irons in the fire at different companies, and it's all connecting. And just like when Warren Buffett buys a company, he buys something that accentuates and helps his other network of companies, which is one of the most valuable things that you can do as you're building, this big, huge group or conglomerate of companies. So, but yeah, everything has a purpose and everything has a connection later on. And you were actually one of those connections.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be part of your connection and your network because first off, I think it's amazing that you had that little window when you discovered that sales and marketing was just your forte because you seem to be a natural at it. And I see how that just keeps helping. And the fact that your drivers were networking and connecting as they were giving these CEOs rides. If they didn't have that example set where, you're connecting with the client, you never know. That could have been missed opportunity. But because you have that culture, I think that's really important because you never know. I really feel like we're stronger together. And the more we can combine our talents, we can meet other people's needs. We can find strength. And I'm just so excited to be here. I think that's remarkable. So you have just grown from one entity to the next. And the fact that you're employing veterans and that you realize that even though you yourself didn't have an issue transitioning from military service to civilian life, many do. Could you talk about that a little bit as far as the impact you've had, maybe a particular veteran that's worked with you that has succeeded?
Yeah. So, that's the thing. It's like veterans and their families, because the families sacrifice just as much as the veterans. When a veteran's deployed, the whole family, and the whole family has to get on their back, right, and help. As far as the veterans that we've helped, we've taken people, Jackie, I'll be honest, they've been homeless with kids.
Oh,
and we've given them a job as an entry level deal, and we have promoted them through the ranks. I mean, they worked their tail off. And like every class of people, because veterans was just a class of people. There's veterans that are in a situation they're in because they want to be, and then there's people that are in a situation because of circumstances. I want the people of circumstances, right? Because if they have a desire to not be in the situation they're in, they're my kind of people.
mhm.
And you can't, our culture is different than most companies because you can't scale like we have and have all perfect employees. That just doesn't happen. Okay. But what you can have is you can have a core group of people that know that the harder they work, the better they do, and the quicker we grow. That helps more people that were in their same situation to get an opportunity. You don't have that culture anywhere else. I don't know of another company you have that culture in, right? Everybody talks about, like you said earlier, and I love, and you and I have had discussions about these companies. Oh, we support the veterans, we support this, we support that. But when it comes down to it, they give them 10% off. That's great if their services weren't double the cost to begin with. Or when it comes to, hey, this veteran's in need and you've got a good, profitable company and this person needs help, you won't find a lot of people to raise their hands and help. So, you talk about those Christmas giveaways and those Thanksgiving giveaways. Those are really a small portion of what we do and how we do it. I've got a great guy. His name's Richard Baca. You'll love this story. Do you want me to go into this now or you want to wait till later? Or?
Oh, now it's great. I'd love to hear your take on it.
So I happened to be in one of our offices in LA, and I was usually never up there at the time. This is going back a couple of years plus. And phone rings, and I love beating everybody to the phone. I love closing the deal before anybody can. I love doing all that stuff. And it was a elderly nonprofit out of Fallbrook. I don't remember the name, and they had a veteran in need. And we heard you guys help veterans. Well, at that point, a couple of years ago, we were still in our infancy, so there wasn't a lot of word out about anything that we do. So I said, sure, tell me what's going on. Well, this veteran got his benefits denied with no notice. They got revoked. I'm like, really? And he happened to live in Anaheim, and his name's Richard Baca. You'll see a lot of pictures of Richard and his wife Lisa on our Facebook page. She's our biggest social media advocate, right? I was like, oh, okay. And you get a lot of people that call in that need help, and then all of a sudden, when the smoke clears, they may not need it as much as somebody else may need it. We'll just say it like that. So I said, okay, no problem. What's the name and number? So they give me his name and number. Me, Scott West, my CEO now, and another gentleman named Steve went over there in the morning to meet Mr. Baca to put eyes on, see what he needed. Because he had dialysis, and if he didn't get his three weekly treatments, 3 times a week treatments, he would die. So it's pretty serious stuff, right? So we go over there and we're talking to Mr. Baca. And Mr. Baca was in the Army in the 70s, and he had a stroke, and his left side of his body is dead. And, and I'm like, wow, another eye-opening event to what people really experience, right? So I asked him what happened with his insurance, because his insurance covered his transportation because they didn't have a car that he could get in and out of, and it wasn't dependable enough to get him to the dialysis. He goes, Chris, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. My daughter's going to college, and they mentioned something about that if we have enough money to send her to college, we don't need the benefit or something. I'm like, wow. You're educating your daughter, and you get your benefits pulled. So I said, okay. And then Lisa came over, and she's great. If you ever get to meet Lisa Crawford, she will enlighten your life. Richard Baca, all of his medical issues, going through another kidney, stroke, the most elated person to just be alive that you'll ever come across. So we started transporting him. And then we hooked him up with a legal organization that we're partnered with as well to get him free legal to get his benefits back. So Richard Baca, we get his benefits back, everything's reinstated, but we're not a certified carrier for his insurance company. That's a whole different scam I'll tell you about. Anyway, it's like pay to play, right? So, which I don't do. So he goes, Chris, I appreciate everything you've done. I would love you to transport us, but I understand you don't get paid. So it's okay that we go with the other company. I said, no. So Richard, so you don't like our people? Oh, you guys are like family to me. And I said, well, we'll continue to transport you. So Lisa calls me back after we get off the phone, and she's like, "Oh, Chris, we don't have the money to pay you though. Just so you know." I was like, "You don't have to give me anything." So for over 2 years, because they love our drivers. Our drivers love him or them as a family. And then mom came over too on that first meeting. She's a cutie patootie too. And so we've been transporting them over 2 years for nothing.
Oh,
3 times.
wow.
Yeah.
That's
These are
giving back. That's making a difference. That's taking
yeah.
action. You guys are like the roll up the sleeves in the trenches, and I love that
Well,
about
this other company that they used, supposedly they were unsafe vehicles, unclean vehicles. The drivers were rude. They wouldn't let them listen to music they wanted to. They wouldn't set the temperature the way they wanted to. And we cater to our customers because they're the most important thing, right? Next to our employees, because Richard Branson said it best when he said, your most important asset is not your customers. Your most important asset is your employees, because if you treat them right, they will take care of your customers.
yes.
So, and that's key, right? So we take care of our people when there's problems. I mean, pretty much every employee in all of the companies have a direct line to me. And I don't manage from the middle up and down because that's not right. But when there's an issue or there's help needed for anything, they know that they can reach out to me. I may push them back to their proper chain of command if it's something that's not needed to come to me, or if there's an issue with their manager, they have to work it out with their manager. And if the manager can't work it out with them, then they both come to me. But that's the chain of command. I had a driver, one of our truck drivers. There was a death in the family, and there wasn't enough money to handle arrangements, and we gave him money. Now he's going to pay it back, but nonetheless, we were there for him. We were there for that. Driver texted me this morning. She must have slept on her shoulder wrong. She had an issue. She's under load, and her shoulder's killing her, but she doesn't want to mess up the load and mess up her punctuality. Go to the doctor. I'll handle the customer. Their well-being, and that's really what it's about, right? That's taking care of your employees is very important.
I absolutely believe it. It sounds like you're a true leader. Is that something you say you always had, or was that a skill you developed while in the military?
Well, it's crazy. I scored a 93 on my ASVAB. So at 16 years old, when I went in, I was in charge of all the people leaving from the Des Plaines, Illinois MEPS to get on a plane to go to Fort Knox. Well, okay, that was like herding cats, because you got guys, everyone, I was the youngest person in the company. I was the youngest person, to be on the plane with in the group. And so I've never led anybody up to that point. I played sports and I was very athletic, and I was always part of a team when it came to that stuff. But as far as leading men that you don't know that you know for 7 minutes, and making them accountable to get up, to get showered, to get in the van, to get to the airport, to get to the terminal, and you wait right here until we get on the plane, because if you don't get on, I think I'm in trouble. It was a big deal. So, but when I liked the Army because everything was gauged, everything was a contest, and I love that. When I went to AIT at Fort Sam, the first week, and they really didn't know all the recruits, but the drill sergeant put me up for Soldier of the Week. So, and I absorb things well. I can have 7 conversations going on, and I can hear everything else going on in the room, and I retain it. So when I went up in front of Captain Carroll for the Soldier of the Week competition, one soldier from each platoon, he's asking me general questions that you should have knew when you were in boot camp. So they were easy, right? Well, I guess I won, and I knew knew stuff that other people didn't know. And so I got Soldier of the Week, so I got civilian clothes right away. I got off-base privileges right away, and all that kind of stuff. And from there on, everything was, hey, how about this? How about this training, that training? And I loved all of it. But I knew that it wasn't going to be a career thing for me for a multitude of reasons. The pay wasn't there. I think I was making $1,100 a month or something when I got out. I stored up some money. I had some money. I came out. I bought my first house when I was 19. Parents were, my dad calls me. Hey, where are you at? Oh, I'm at the house. I'm here. You're not here. No, I'm at my house. What do you mean? I bought a house. What do you mean you bought? Where are you buy a house at? Darian. You don't want me to look at it first? No, he's an electrician, tradesman. Right? I'm Yugoslavian by nature, so we fix everything. And I'm like, no, it's a brand new house. It's a brand new townhouse. Can I come over? Yeah, come on over. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. He wanted me to be a union electrician, and he was actually angry that I didn't follow those footsteps because I was the last son in the family. I have an older brother, and it just wasn't my thing. I like doing what I do. I like marketing. I like sales. I like taking care of people and creating stuff. I like that.
Perfect. Well, it seems like you're in the right field and you've taken all your skills from your past experiences with leadership, being able to multitask because you've got several entities now. And I love that. Even the way you said you were taking on challenges and learning new information, you seem to be someone who always wants to further yourself and grow and continue developing and helping others. And I think that's just very impressive. So well done.
Well, I try to remove the obstacles as a leader and as a person. I realized that when we started taking on this transportation deal, a lot of it is human touch, human interaction. So, as recently as Thanksgiving, as soon as I could break away, because I love working, I really do. It's my thing. As soon as I could break away from the turkey, because eating is my thing too. But I started learning how to build about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before that, learning how to build a bot. So, like, series of bot. And it's got automated responses, but it takes out a lot of the human touch because we need to provide updates to our customers as far as where loads are and what's going on and ETAs and stuff like that. So I knew about bot technology. It's been out there for a couple of years now to where it's becoming mainstream. And so I built one, and you can learn anything on YouTube, right? Wow. So I built one, got on a platform that made it a lot easier. It wasn't that big of a hurdle that I did. But it's functional now. It's not operational because there's a lot of pieces to this trucking puzzle. Excuse me. But it's operational. It's functional. And so when I can perfect that, and I'm going to give it a voice too. I'm going to figure out how to give it a voice so that it can talk to the drivers just like Siri. And it's called TAC, Trucker Assistant and Concierge. So that's the military acronym that it'll have. So that'll be the contact point. Yeah. And so they do all their updates. It flows into our system. It notifies everybody that needs to be notified. And the reason that that's important is because you don't have to worry about missing a beat when there's no human interaction. People get sick, people get injured, people get distracted, people whatever. When you can turn stuff automated, it's a game changer. And we're the only company out there that I know that has something like that, or is at least in development of something like that. And we're going to get into blockchain technology and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's a huge industry. It's riddled by liars, cheats, and thieves. These brokers and customers, when I call them and tell them that we're going to be there and we actually show up, they're amazed. It's not like, oh, you just did what you were supposed to do. They're like thankful and amazed that we executed. So, all these other companies lead into more of that. And we couldn't have one. Everything's been in the exact order it needed to be in order for it all to work. So we just recently got our polybags for our launch of VetX, Veterans Express. That'll be an overnight competitor to Uber and Lyft. So when you have that, that's great. But if you didn't have a network of vehicles and a network of people to deliver those overnight packages, you couldn't provide service. Between Veterans Rideshare and the other transportation entities, I have vehicles and drivers all over the state of California right now.
Perfect.
So the reason that we went with actual polybags instead of recycled cardboard like FedEx and UPS did is because the other entity down the line, that Patriotic Villages, to build housing for homeless veterans out of recycled material and renewable energy, can use those plastic bags instead of throwing them in the garbage to create more landfill and waste. They can use those, return them to the depot, and then it goes into making new products for Patriotic Villages. So it's key, right? So now I just have to have a sort location, which I have. I've got the poly bags. I've got the technology and the platform built. Now I just have to figure out and have God give me a few more hours a day so I can figure out how to get that done as well and launch. But it is ready. So, and then you and I have talked about Veteran Broadcast Company. Veteran Broadcast Company is important, right? You've got all these news agencies now that it's not like news used to be. News used to be unbiased.
Right.
And now, whichever channel you watch is what message you get. I can't imagine that Americans would not want a solution to just news,
Mhm.
unbiased news. This is exactly what has happened. This is exactly what's going on without worrying about a belief.
Mhm.
Facts. Factual news would be probably an important thing in our society today.
Yes.
That'll go with, yeah, and that's, and streaming radio, so people actually have something. And the news is riddled. Nastiness actually gets attention. There, you see very little stuff about feel good stuff. You see, and there's a lot. No matter how much nastiness is in this world or in this country, there's a lot of goodness too. But nobody reports on that really. You might get a 10-second blurb on somebody that really did something extraordinary, but nobody will ever know. So, we've got vet boxes of storage, which is going to be a competitor to Pods and Pack Rat. That's going to be a franchise play for all the veterans that are throughout the country that may have a business already and have some land, and I'm going to give them the franchise for nothing. And I'm going to let them. Yeah,
Oh my God.
um, yeah. There's a lot of stuff that is coming that all connects to what we've already done. So.
I'm blown away. You just said so much.
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
I
I
love
get going
it.
and I get so excited.
You just keep building and building and getting better. And I do love your mission of giving back and making something better and the positivity too. That's huge. I'm a big fan of really choose what you focus on. And like you said, there is a lot of really great news and great works to share. And this is a reason why I'm happy to team up with you because every time I turn around, you're building something new or you've reached out and helped another person. You've helped a Gold Star spouse. You've helped a veteran family. You've helped active duty military. And so I think those are the stories that definitely merit attention. And those are the works that need to be supported and have more people join in and, follow suit because you're definitely making a difference. And that's what I love about you and Veterans Rideshare and all your other entities that are just coming. Like I can see it. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, and then VetX will be huge because obviously taking that nationwide. First, we're going to do that in California just so we can proof of concept the model to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Mhm.
Because I miss stuff all the time. But I'll wake up in the middle of the night, or I'll come out of sit in church on Sunday, and all of a sudden I'll get the solution to the problem. It's crazy, and quickly, very quickly, I find solutions or remove obstacles. So, but as soon as that's perfected, which shouldn't be any time at all, then I can include Vegas instead of just California. I can include Reno instead of California and Phoenix. And as soon as that's perfected, then I need some planes because then we can go national. Then we can go to the entire continent, and then we can go global. And that's very important for later on for patriotic villages because I plan on supplying those recycled material housing complexes, energy, water, and internet anywhere in the world, so that everybody has the equal chance to learn. So, everything has its place and everything has its timetable. And the harder that I work, the quicker it becomes, and the more people I get to help. So that's what I'm about.
Ah, fantastic. Well, I look forward to working with you moving forward. And every time you've got a new entity that it's got some great news, announcements, growth, anything to share, I will look forward to teaming up with you to spread the good word because you found your calling and you are on a mission and I love it. Like, I don't think anything could stop you at this point.
You constantly get life puts hurdles in front of you all the time. Most people worry about those hurdles, or most people get distracted by those hurdles. It's a conundrum that just needs a solution.
Mhm.
So the true visionaries figure out the solution. They don't concentrate on the problem that got put in front of them. And that's one of the things I think I do well.
I think so too. It sounds like it. It's like you have your eye on the prize and you're going to keep moving no matter what. If you have to go over, around, through, you're going to make it happen.
Through the mountain is our motto. Find a way through the mountain.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Chris. First of all, thank you again for your military service. Thank you for everything that I know you've done personally with my military family, with the ones with ArmyWife101.com, and the fact that you're still employing veterans, you're giving back, you're helping the military community as a whole means so much. So please keep doing what you're doing with Veterans Rideshare and with your other entities. And I can't wait to talk to you again and see what the next steps are going to be.
Onward and upward, always.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. There will be more. We've got a lot of great things happening here. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you once again, Chris, and we will keep you posted.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.